as I go into the presentation, more or less just give you an idea of what will be talked about. You may hear some recurring themes in this presentation simply because Michael may have talked about them already. So, of course, we'll be talking about the Brownfields Redevelopment Act, the economic incentives, and the key incentives is the Brownfield Redevelopment Bonus Incentive. We'll talk about some of the incentives that are associated with Brownfields Redevelopment that Michael didn't talk about. And then we'll settle for question and answers. So basically, you have the site, you start with the cleanup of the, you identify a property for redevelopment, you work with your attorney, your geologist, your environmental folks, proceed with the cleanup. What happens to the site? Does it just stay there? Of course, you'd want to get some financial gain through it, whether in attracting a business or you putting your own business there. And so to encourage the redevelopment of those sites, this is where we would come in providing financial incentives for the businesses that would be located at that site. So regarding the Brownfield Redevelopment Act, what we want to, the key part to it is understanding the fact that it provides for the use of incentives for Brownfields redevelopment, and also it provides the definition for what a Brownfield site is or what a Brownfield area is. And Michael may have provided that designation, that definition earlier, and you will see it coming up again. But understanding the difference between a Brownfield site and a Brownfield area is important to you as well. The Brownfield area in itself, it's an expanded area. So, say for example, I think the enterprise zone down here in St. Petersburg is also overlaid as a Brownfield area. And several other communities are doing the same thing because they have identified how it encourages redevelopment of those areas. I was working with a project in Broward County. They were looking for an expanded site to more or less relocate their operations. At the site they had almost 600 employees. And they were looking to expand significantly by another 700 employees. The existing site that they have, it was too small. They came across a site in the city of Margate. Fits well with them, the building. The developer worked with them very well, and it's within the CRA as well. The CRA was very supportive of them in saying, hey, we want you here because of the economic impact it was creating. They approach us, say, hey, this is what we want to do. The incentives will be important to us because there is that cost to us in retrofitting that facility. We want to offset some of that cost too. And furthermore, we want to remain in Florida and create those hundreds of jobs in Florida as well. And I said, no problem, we could sit down, we discuss it. We got the support from the city of Margate and our local economic development partner down there coming together. I think it was in February, they had their groundbreaking. In addition to maintaining the 600 existing jobs, they will be creating another 700 new jobs. As part of the incentives, they got a total package in terms of tax refund, not tax credit, meaning they would be getting a check from the state for almost $2.something million. And of course, those tax refunds is based on taxes the company would be paying as part of their normal operation of business. Added to that, those jobs have to be in place. So it's not part-time jobs that you create well, I shouldn't say part-time jobs. You could have part-time jobs in the mix, but in a sense that these are long-term jobs, full-time equivalent jobs that will be there over a period of time. 6 months thereafter, another company approached me. They said, whoa, this is good. I have my company, I want to start up. These incentives, I see how beneficial it was to this other company. I have identified a site a few feet away from this existing facility. Can you help us with this? I say, all right, let me see your proposal, let me see your project. About a month ago, they had their press release creating 300 new jobs. And all of that within that same commune, same area. Well, what do you know? It had because of the success in the city of Margate, I had calls from the city of Cape Coral, the city of the city of Coral Springs, the city of Hollywood, and the city of Wilton or Walton Manor. They all want a piece of the cake as well. Because they see the benefits in terms of you putting new people back to work, you're taking people off the welfare, the state and federal welfare program. These are people that will be part of the jobs providing benefits to them in terms of health benefits to them. And furthermore, that's tax revenue that would be coming into the community. So they could now provide services, much needed services to the community. So the news is going out. More communities are interested in it. And likewise, as I've indicated, I get calls all the time from businesses, whether that are in Florida, those that are looking to start new businesses, or those from outside the state of Florida that are interested in the Florida market. Where are the Brownfields? So there is competition from outside for us. So again, a brownfield area, it could include a CRA, it could be your enterprise zone area, it could be an industrial park. The brownfield site in it's just a particular site, from a certain square feet to how many acres or so on. But it's easier, I think it's a more sellable if the city or the community is looking to designate a brownfield area rather than a brownfield site. With regards to the brownfield site, most of those sites, they would meet some of the thresholds for brownfields redevelopment, and most of the projects that I've worked with, those brownfield sites, they're coming into the program, they're interested in the incentives because there is some form of contamination that they want to address, and as a result, get the tax refunds that's associated with the job creation to offset the cost of it. So again, I don't want to go into too much into it with you, but understanding the difference between a brownfield site and a brownfield area is important to you. Our roles in this, there is the Brownfields Association, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Their sole responsibility is the site rehabilitation and cleanup. You want to know who these individuals are in your respective community. We at Enterprise Florida were directed with marketing the program. What are the benefits for businesses in that site, in addition to all the other incentives that we shepherd at Enterprise Florida. And this is a forum for us to market that program. And of course, collaborating with the Florida Brownfields Association, with the state and federal entities that are into brownfields redevelopment. Just go out there and speak to communities about brownfields redevelopment. Some of the incentives that are available, and of course Michael may have touched upon them, some of them already. There is one that I want you to pay particular attention to, where it says, under other financial and regulatory benefits, the brownfields redevelopment economic incentives. Clearly indicated with the statutes. sometimes you may have a project that would not meet the thresholds for the state incentive or the Brownfield Redevelopment bonus incentive that I'm talking about. But because the community would want to support your project, this is where that information sheet would gives a broader understanding of what other local incentives can be put on the table to help incentivize that project. I worked with a project in the city of Cocoa. What they did is like, they say, all right, we don't, because of the financial constraint we have as a city, we will provide in-kind services for the redevelopment. We will expedite their permitting at the local level. We may even do a little impact fee waiver for them. All those things are appropriate for you. You know, having an understanding of what incentives are available to you as a developer or somebody that's interested in locating your project in a brownfield area, especially if it's going to have a significant impact on the local community. I worked a project in Orlando whereby the city said, all right, we're going to reach out to the state government for a road to support this project. And in addition, we will provide some transportation impact fees on this project as well. So understanding what incentives are available to help you with your project is important. And again, I encourage you to take a closer look at that document and review the incentives in it as well. Expedited permitting, any project, redevelopment project within a designated brownfield area that would impact other state regulatory agency, DEP, Department of Transportation, water management districts, all of them, if they're going to rule on your project, there is the opportunity for all those agencies to come together, take a look at your project, ask questions, and tell you, going forward, this is what you need to do to address those issues. Now, can you imagine you having to go to each of these agencies individually to have that discussion? The time, the cost it would be to you as well. But again, for significant brownfield redevelopment projects, that opportunity is available for you. And of course, there is workforce training, and we'll talk a little about the workforce training as well. So what is the Brownfield Redevelopment Bonus Incentive? It's a tax refund. I don't want you to confuse it with a tax credit. It's a tax refund. So the business that is creating the jobs, before I get into that, if you're a developer, this incentive would not work, would not benefit you. You would not be getting that tax refund. Now, how can this incentive be beneficial to you? Because now you have a property and you could tell that applicant, say for example, a tenant that you're working with, these are the incentives that you would get as a result of locating in my property or at my property, as against to going somewhere else that is not a designated brownfield area. So you could see the leverage that you now have with your site versus another site. And I've had a lot of projects. The difference was the state brownfields program as against to not getting that benefit. There's success stories to that. That's a fact. Because especially in this tight economy, financial capital is so difficult to obtain. Any opportunity for you to offset your redevelopment costs would benefit you. And up to $2,500 for job creation, they will go at it. So the contract or the agreement is between the state and the company that you have attracted to your facility. So say for example, I know, well, let me use an example down here. I know for some time the city of St. Petersburg was looking for opportunities to redevelop a site within the enterprise zone. I don't remember the name. But the site was designated a brownfield area, and we worked a project. It was with the Sweet Bay supermarket. Of course, there's so many layers of incentives that this company tapped into, but the idea that whoever the developer was or the owner of the property was able to reach out to Sweet Bay and say, hey, look, these are additional incentives that would benefit you as well. And they took advantage of that. So it's a good marketing tool for you, a developer, but just be aware that the incentives is tied to the company that is creating the full-time jobs in itself. It's paid over a 4-year period or based on the timing of the job phasing. And the reason for that is we do not want to encourage businesses that is going to come in and after a year pick up and go. That would not be nice. That's not a very good use of state resources. We want to make sure that it's an economic viable project. And so there is an application process to it. So in reviewing your application, we look for certain information to verify, all right, this is a project that's going to be there for an extended period of time. Now, I'm not saying maybe a year from now something significant could happen to your business, unforeseen circumstances, but looking up front, we could make that determination this is a project that's going to be there for an extended period of time. And also to satisfy the taxpayers, you know, why, and you had a question all the time, why are we throwing taxpayer dollars to private businesses? Well, they're going into a contract with the state. And when I say the state, it's called the Department of Economic Opportunity. This company have indicated that, one, there is a capital investment threshold of up to $500,000. Yes, we have spent up to $500,000 in the local economy, so that's additional indirect benefits to the local community. If, say, for example, they're constructing a facility, one project in Central Florida, $200 million in capital investment. I did one up in Tampa, $100 million in capital investment in terms of construction. So that's that indirect economic impact to the community. That's substantial. But yes, they have to spend that capital investment. They have to document that. In addition, the jobs have to be in place and you're paying the appropriate wages. They have to demonstrate that, yes, these are the jobs. So additional information have to be provided to demonstrate all of that in place before the company receives any of those tax refunds. And guess what? They have to pay the taxes anyway, because remember, it's a tax refund. So if they do not have that tax liability, they do not get the tax refund. It's locally driven. What do I mean by locally driven? Meaning the community have to support your project to participate in the incentive program. And why? Because you want to make sure that it's not just a state saying, yes, we certify this project, you now have to endorse it, push it up, push it forward before your community, before your elected representatives. And no, that's not how it works. It starts at the local level, one with the designation, and secondly with another resolution saying, yes, we support this project to participate in the state incentive program, because we want to make sure that it is that kind of development you want for your community. It is part of your future plan or future redevelopment efforts. I know we had one project in South Florida where the community, where the applicant met all the thresholds to participate in the program. But then the community said, because of that end use, because of the activity, no, we're not supporting it. And they came and said, well, what can you do? Can you tell the community, hey, they need to support our, I'm like, no. That's a discussion between you and them. Again, we do not want to just impose on the community. So that's what I mean, the locally driven. Of course, you have to have, the site have to be designated a brownfield area. So if it's a, well, I shouldn't say a brownfield. If it's an existing brownfield area like the enterprise zone down here, well, it makes it a little, it would be, the process would move a little quicker. However, I talked about that in that resolution supporting the project to participate in the incentive program. And they could provide the local support. Now, they could provide cash, tax abatement, or reduce lease rates. This is sort of, so at the state level, this is what we look for. Or the community could say, you know what, we don't have that kind of money to support the project at that. We don't have the money to provide the local financial support, but we're still supporting the project to participate in the incentive program. And that's fine, because the statutes allows for the community to request a waiver of the local financial support for brownfield redevelopment projects. It's just that it would reduce the amount that's going to the community by up to $500. So 2 ways to qualify for the program. Either it's called a QTI, and that's, the QTI program is called Qualified Target Incentive. Businesses have to be in a certain targeted industry sector to get that incentives, and we're talking on these kind of projects, they are the one that pay the higher wages. You have to meet a certain wage threshold for this. Your project has to be competing with, well, Florida, a Florida location has to be competing with another location outside the state of Florida. But for that incentive, we're not coming to Florida. And I'm talking about the qualified target industry. You're talking about businesses that are operating in the financial services, corporate headquarters, life sciences, aviation, aerospace, clean tech, energy, manufacturing. These are kind of the type of projects, but I don't want to expand too much on that. You know, that could be for a later discussion. The other one is called a standalone brownfield. Well, a standalone brownfield is those that doesn't meet the qualified target industry thresholds. They may still be in a targeted industry, but also you have those that are not in a targeted industry. Like a hotel that's not in a targeted industry. A restaurant is not in a targeted industry. Those kind of retail supermarkets, these are not in a targeted industry. So these kind of projects would qualify. And maybe there may be others, but we just have to just sit down and discuss it and understand what they are. Now, again, if your project is in a if your project is in a targeted sector, a very simple example. Let's assume you're manufacturing tables. You're a manufacturer. You're manufacturing tables, and you're in a designated brownfield area. The mere fact that you're a manufacturer, that's in one of the targeted industry sector, and so you meet all the other thresholds that we will talk about. So your project, and if that project is in an enterprise zone like we have down here, these are the value of the incentives that QTI project would receive if it is within a designated brownfield area. So you would get all the appropriate incentives tied to the QTI program plus the brownfield bonus award. So we call that a QTI project with brownfield bonus award. The second one is if you're in a standalone brownfield, and the standalone brownfield is what I talk about, sort of like your retail, hotel, which one? A car dealership, we did one recently. Some of those big box stores, retail stores as well. You know, this is what we call standalone brownfield. They would have to have at least $500,000 in capital investment. What do I mean by that, $500,000? Meaning that monies that would be spent to renovate a facility, or that could be part of the overall construction of that facility. Now, it cannot be just construction and just leave it aside. No. As part of my redevelopment plans, I'm coming in, I'm going to spend those monies for this. It could count towards that. Now, if the site requires some major form of environmental remediation, it's have to be up to $2 million, which is counterproductive. I don't know who wrote that into law, but I know there have been efforts to eliminate that requirement, because you're asking the person to clean up the site and then spend another $2 million in construction or retrofitting or renovation costs to the building as well. You have to create at least 10 new jobs to Florida. So if you're an existing company, you would have to create at least 10% of your existing workforce or 10 new jobs, whichever is greater. And of course, you're in a designated brownfield area, and you want to show that the project would diversify your immediate community. And of course, anytime you're spending that kind of money and you have that amount of jobs being created, of course it would have a positive economic impact on your community. As I indicated, it doesn't meet the QTI thresholds. Some of the other incentives, and Michael talked about that, the building material sales tax refund. There's a project near the Amway Center up in Orlando, and that was a residential with affordable housing. Granted, the whole site is a brownfield area. They were able to benefit from that incentive as well. The loan guarantee program, Michael talked about it, and of course, understanding the fact that not too many companies have taken advantage, or too many projects have taken advantage of that. The Department of Economic Opportunity, they're the one that administer that program. They are trying to promote it even more. And I've received a lot of calls from hotels that are interested in that incentive program as well. Quick response training. You may have a project that would require some kind of training. It could be in one of the QTI in one of the targeted industry sector. You may be working with a tenant that is interested in training dollars. There's state funding that could be tied to that project, because it may be in a designated brownfield area as well. And of course, if it's a new technology that you have and you're trying to bring your employees up to scale, that could be a very valuable incentive for them as well. Of course, there is the incumbent worker training for your existing workforce. That would help them tremendously as well at the state level. And of course, we could talk a lot more about this as well, and the slide will be available to you. This is my contact information. Of course, any questions that you may have, I'm here for some time still, and we could discuss it. But there's more to the process and program, but I don't want to inundate you with this. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you very much.